home studio. We will find out immediately, and it looks like he is back. He is allowed back in his house. He is not cold. Sam's treadmill or bike or whatever that normally is behind him. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, gentlemen.
The hair looks nice.
Yeah,
appreciate you. We just awake. We getting the rust off here. Where are you at, Dave?
I am in Southern California for the week. I'm going to be off the week after next, so I'm doing the best to work through the holidays. But what are you going to do?
So right? When I have to switch it up, I'm surrounded by wrenches and screwdrivers, and when you switch it up, you're on a Trump golf course somewhere.
Yeah, that is a golf course behind me. But the good news is, Sam, look at this. This is 2/3 of the show right now with the stingers up. And the funny thing is, the one guy not representing is the longtime voice of Sac State football. What's going on? Jason.
Russ, what do you have to say for yourself, man?
Yeah.
This wasn't coming in very clearly. Did you say something, Dave? Yes. Stingers up is what I have to say.
Well, I hope you had a good Christmas, Sam. I saw you change the profile picture on Facebook to your beautiful family. I'm sure you enjoyed the present opening as much as the rest of us did. And now we're on to the National Basketball Association, where we'll turn to you for guidance, Sam, as you rub the sleep out of your eyes and take the glasses off to mean
See, man, this YouTube thing. I used to be able to get away with this.
Well, we're all trying to rub these losses out, man. That sounds weird. With the Celtics, the Blazers out of nowhere. You're the national basketball writer. How the hell do you answer the Kings just being weird on these nights out of nowhere?
Yeah, I saw something the other day after the Blazers loss. Tom Ziller, who writes about the whole league, but longtime Kings voice on Substack now, called them the most frustrating 17-11 team in league history.
Yeah.
I've seen we've talked about it before, all the lopsided losses, and then a pretty fair amount of quality wins. This one was wild because obviously the Blazers were down a couple of big time guys. I was joking with my nephew Jackson over the holiday that I covered the NBA and I had never heard of the rookie who dropped 25 on the Kings.
Join the club.
Yeah, this guy Reith, fitting holiday name, was just dropping threes, like crazy. And I think they averaged 108 coming into the game, and they let them get 130. So if nothing else, it's always hard to talk about what it leads to. But like we keep saying, like I've said for a while, is if this team wants to contend, I think they got to be pretty open to significant moves at the trade deadline. That was the type of loss that to me is like, all right, and if something's not there, you can't force it. So it doesn't mean something's definitely going to happen. But as far as like the ceiling or, on this team, I thought that was a pretty bad sign.
Yeah. And Sam, in the history of maybe deals that are made around the league, when I don't know if the right term is if you're desperate, maybe you give up more than you should, or you're just going to move because you got to change things. I don't know that the Kings want to do that, but I also feel like there is, from the fan base, maybe from their own watching of this team, of the frustration, maybe that need to move. You feel like it'll force isn't the right word, but maybe it'll guarantee that they make a move, whether it's a big splash or another one. It just feels like that's something that is imminent now with the squad.
It does, but again, I just keep, I'm excited for it to get closer to the deadline so that we can have more names surface. Because I'll be honest, when I wrote that thing a couple of weeks ago about the Kings it was about Zach LaVine, but eventually it talked about the Kings. There was a guy in the comment section, and I didn't love the comment, but he was probably right, where he was making fun of NBA writers for analyzing the same 5 names, for the last couple of months. Now, part of that is that some of the other ones that are in play we just haven't gotten to yet. And I think, we'll probably learn more closer to the deadline. The one that, that gets recycled all the time is OG Anunoby. If you talk about somebody who could be a game changer defensively, and as I wrote, I don't see them doing that because I don't think they want to pay him, 30 something million, damn near 40 million a year in free agency next year. So who is that guy? Matisse Thybulle, I think, would be more than happy to leave Portland. I think he's looking for a new spot. I know they want shooting. I know they want balance on both ends of the floor. Is that a guy that you look at? But they got to do something defensively.
Yeah, and you look at the names, and I don't mean this to suggest that he would be on the block, but like Mikal Bridges we've been talking about, just in the sense of the prototypical perfect, air quotes, perfect addition to this Kings roster, a guy that is tremendous. And I agree with you on Thybulle, by the way, who's not going to shoot you into games, but plays all world defense. And everybody chill. I've spoken in the past about how a healthy and engaged Ben Simmons would be that type would be a tremendous help. But as you just said, Sam, we recycle names because that's who's there. It's just tough to figure out, and you know this better than anyone, somebody who it inevitably ends up, doesn't it, every year being someone or someone's that nobody thought was available in December that ends up getting traded in February.
It is. I'm trying to think who that was last year. Maybe I should have set the alarm clock for more than 3 minutes before.
You're pounding that coffee though, bro.
Oh, I haven't even touched the coffee yet. That's the problem. Now I'm just getting creeped out by those eyes on Jason's laptop staring at me.
That's Nick Cage, dude.
Nick Cage pillow.
Nice. Oh, wow. I thought it was a laptop.
Oh.
Impressive. Wow. That is
face off. See, Sam? It's real.
Well, I don't want to leave the audience. I'm tempted to go grab one of the gifts I got for the family since we had our dog moment last year or last week. We have a new willow pillow covered it with dog faces. So, we got our own version of that, buddy. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Lauri Markkanen obviously came up in the news recently. He's a very good player. I mean, you mentioned a guy like Bridges. Like, sure, yeah, great. He'd fit in. Like, you're definitely losing Keegan Murray in that deal. You're definitely losing, multiple picks in that deal. And that's where for the Kings, it's the downside of being somewhat in love with their core is that all you're really willing to give up, and this is me talking educated analysis, I guess, is, a Harrison Barnes. And I think, certainly that Kevin Huerter could be got. But beyond that, the word has been, you're not touching Fox, Sabonis, and Murray. Monk is an interesting one because they love him. But to me, I have argued that if you pick up one of these guys who's going to cost you a pretty penny this summer, then then Monk could end up be part of that, in my opinion, because you can end up paying, 4 guys big time money.
Sure.
So we'll see. I don't know who the guy is, but I think we all agree that they need something here.
We're talking with Sam Amick from The Athletic. Sam, I don't know if this is too much of a generality or a blanket statement, but I'm curious in just the trade principles. We know that Utah, OKC in the last couple of years, I mean, their goal was just to get picks. They were looking for draft assets in the future. Do you get an idea? Are people trying to trade more to relieve money for a free agent summer or more towards draft picks for the upcoming drafts? Is there a generality there, kind of philosophies from league wide?
No, I think the trend though would be toward picks just because the cost of doing business in free agency has never been higher. And the cost efficiency of a rookie scale contract obviously is more than ever if you talk about ROI, if you will. So I think that, the value on the pick side is tremendous. But at the same time with this new CBA, and I don't have the entire landscape right in front of me, but the teams that are up against not even just the second apron, but maybe the first apron in terms of luxury tax, You could find teams that are very incentivized to get out of whatever danger zone they might be in as far as their books, because this has become a league that is feeling unofficially hard capped at the second apron. To me, it's a little balanced, but those picks matter a lot, especially, teams that have built around, one or two or even three high paid players that are trying to supplement around that. I mean, you got to do it with rookie scale deals.
That's interesting, Sam. Just a quick follow up on that. I did wonder after last year where you had that rush of picks and the Donovan Mitchell deal and the Rudy Gobert deal, just an insane amount of picks going somewhere, if that would lead to a long-term slowdown on value of picks. You're saying that it's kind of the opposite, that they're becoming more of a premium.
That's how I see it for sure. I mean, I mentioned Keegan a minute ago.
Yeah.
Like, you got a guy on a rookie scale deal. And listen, these rookie scale deals they've never been better. Keegan's making good money, but at the same, he's giving you 47 points in a game a couple of weeks ago on a rookie scale deal. Like that's $30 million a year performance. So yeah, I mean, with the cap having skyrocketed like it has in the last 10 years, I do think that those picks still hold tremendous value. I mean, the Gobert deal was not totally an outlier, but it was pretty much, pretty close to being an outlier. You had a GM and Tim Conley, who was for the Timberwolves, who was incredibly incentivized to make a splash and to, we all know the story there. So, and it's working out better now than it looked like it was last year. So that many picks is the outlier, but I still think they have a lot of value.
Sam, is there anything really to this, whatever's going on with Kevin Durant in Phoenix? Is there even a story there?
Yeah, I think it's worth monitoring. I think it's just the age-old calculus between expectation and results. And so the Suns are coming in way short of that. Frustration that I'm sure Kevin is understanding of for a while, which is the injury situation with Bradley Beal and then, Devin Booker being out a bit. But you're seeing, I think, to me, the second layer to it is that the way they went and got Kevin from Brooklyn with Matt Ishbia coming in and 5 minutes after buying the team saying, we're going to make a splash, they gave up so much of their assets that they had to scrounge with minimum deals to surround these guys. And I think they're paying a price for it. I'm sure you guys saw the clip where the audio got picked up with Devin Booker getting on. I think it was
Chimezie Metu. Yep.
Yeah, former King, where it's like two guys that probably don't know each other very well, and Devin is frustrated as well with what's going on, and he gets on Chimezie because he didn't run back. It was nothing crazy, but like it shows you that the vibe is not great between stars and role players, and if you're Kevin, you're talking about I don't know 3-4 years running now where he's been carrying a pretty significant load for whichever team he's on. And, and really getting let down by the people around him, which I know Warriors fans would argue, okay, you never should have left. And that's fine to have that opinion. But, from Kyrie Irving not wanting to take the shot to, James Harden deciding after that he wanted out, to now mostly just injury stuff with guys that he was excited to play for, and then Father Time coming into play, right? Like Kevin's looking around going, man, I'm still playing at an MVP caliber level, but it's for a team that is fighting to go under 500.
Sam Amick of The Athletic joining us. Sam, I am fascinated by this Mark Cuban thing in Dallas. I really am. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, when this deal was originally announced, it very much sounded like he was just picking up a couple Billy and it was status quo. He's going to continue to run the franchise and be the guy. And then you hear as part of the approval yesterday when that came out that one of the partners now that has majority is going to have final say. And Cuban said that. And look, I'm no Mark Cuban expert, but you combine that with his Shark Tank departure, it just seems incredibly weird to me that Mark Cuban would just all of a sudden that was his baby. It still seems like it's his baby. It's his whole life. And I don't buy this running for president thing either.
Right.
My conspiracy theory, and I know I'm wrong here, but my conspiracy theory is, we're not that far removed from all those reports within the Mavericks organization of how it was run and all the things that were happening. And maybe Adam Silver, this is the old David Stern, Michael Jordan gambling thing, but maybe Silver stepping in and saying, you can leave or we can make you leave. But do you have any insight as to what Cuban's thinking with this?
I wish I had more.
Yeah.
I have not heard the kind of heat that you're talking about of the league coming down on him quietly behind the scenes for the workplace misconduct stuff that he wasn't obviously personally involved in, but it was his culture, his company.
Yeah.
That I haven't heard. I don't think that's the case. Like you alluded to, the presidency thing, he has actually denied. So take that off the table. From there, it was interesting a while back before this news broke that I saw an interview where he was analyzing the league's forthcoming rights deal agreement. And he shared that while he was confident that they would do really well in this negotiation, he kind of detailed the many reasons that he thought they might be in trouble in the next negotiation. And he was getting into the weeds about the streaming platforms and the kind of dilution of content, if that makes any sense. And just the idea that the NBA was going to fight for, that they were going to have a really, really hard time in the next round of negotiations. So that has been on my radar just in terms of a businessman deciding to get out, while he's ahead, if he thinks that the numbers are going to go the other way, because he also highlighted the fact, sorry, Dave, real quick, that, that it wasn't that long ago that owners would have a hard time selling teams, that the numbers were not what they are. So for me, that's about as good as I can do in terms of breaking it down is that he thinks that the number is going to go south if he doesn't get out now.
And just a quick follow-up on that. And Sam Amick and Carmichael Dave aren't going to outsmart Mark Cuban on this. Of course, he's privy to information
Let's
we
give
have.
it a shot. We can do it.
But let's give it a shot. I find that impossible to believe, and I'll tell you why. You and I both know, all three of us do, that the timeline for the NBA has always been collective bargaining agreement, done. Next up is going to be the television rights. And not to get too deep in the weeds of the business of the NBA, but MLS locked up Apple 10 years. NFL locked up for the next few years. College football and that whole crazy landscape, but a lot of them locked up. Everything is locked up. And what we've seen time and time again in this world of streaming and DVR is that sponsors have more of a value placed on sports than any other type of programming, because you don't fast forward through the ads. People don't like to watch sports on DVR. They like to watch them live. It's the best case scenario for sponsors, knowing that their messages, and oh, by the way, you can throw live reads in. You can throw live. I mean, this is, again, deep in the weeds. You can throw commercials in during gameplay. You can't be sitting there, watching General Hospital and Marsha turns to Brad and says, oh, by the way, brought to you by Schick Razors. Like, that's not going to work. It's a very unique property, and the NBA is the one that has the availability. So all signs point to an absolute record-smashing deal for the NBA. And then, Sam, on top of that, the next part of the timeline, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, Vegas and Seattle almost certainly expansion. You're hearing numbers around $5 billion. It is impossible for me to believe, Sam, that an NBA franchise today is going to sell for anything approaching what it would sell for in 3 to 4 years. Plus you get that expansion push. It just seems like a weird time to get out.
I'm with you. Like you said, admittedly, at times, I wish, I've got a good understanding of the sports business side, but I'm not a TV industry expert by any means. I'm just not. Like the in-season tournament, for example, I thought basketball-wise, league-wise, it was a success. And then Ethan Strauss, who's a longtime basketball writer, had a pretty good piece being critical of why it wasn't a success. And part of it was the streaming platform discussion that I'm still learning about. So that's all of which is to say that, I think you're probably right. From there, if we're going to grasp at straws to understand what Mark is doing, the only other one that does come to mind is that, the Adelson family that he sold it to, they now essentially have plans, it sounds like, to build up pretty drastically all around the Mavericks arena. And, you're talking casinos and hotels and the idea that, that you're missing the macro, if you're just looking at the transaction of the basketball team, that this is now going to lead to a greater investment in the, beyond the team itself that might counterbalance everything that Mark might have missed out on if he had held on to the team. I don't know what those numbers look like, but seems like that whole entire area of downtown Dallas is about to get a massive boost that he's going to be taking a big part in. So maybe those numbers check out, and beyond that, you've got Mark's always, he's an incredibly successful guy. He's also not a young guy. Maybe he just looked around and said, it's time to do something different where I can keep my hand in the team. And the whole final say thing, that will be very interesting. That's my interest, is for basketball purposes, if Mark has a trade he wants to do and they just don't want to approve it, is that how it goes down, or is he still running the team? That part will be interesting.
Sam, I know we're coming up against the break here, but I wanted to ask you about Draymond. I know there were some reports, 11, 12 games, something like that. We don't know officially. What are you hearing about Draymond's return?
Yeah, it seems like it's in that I don't know how many games we're at now.
I think it's 7 or 8 right now.
Yeah, they play tonight. They play Saturday. So it's quickly coming up on 10. I think it's an early January type of thing. There's been reports, obviously, of counseling and routine check-ins with NBA officials. I fully expect cooperation on Draymond's side. It's funny, again, during the holidays, one of my nephews asked if he could buy a ticket and just go sit at the game and bend the rules. And it was like, well, no, that's not, it's in his best interest to do exactly what they want him to do right now. So he's, by all accounts, not pushing back and just playing along here. So we'll see. We've talked before about the unique style of kind of discipline that the league put out here. I'm still a little bit torn about it. I know he's been off the tracks lately. This Mr. Rogers self-help approach is a little much for me, just because I think there's no evidence of off-court major issues. It's just a guy who is a pretty fierce and at times out of control competitor. So I think he'll be back pretty soon.
Imagine Lambeer, Rick Mahorn, Charles Oakley going to counseling. Sam,
that's not obviously. I'm pro counseling. It's just the subject and the person, to my knowledge, was not running around saying, "Yeah, you're right. I need counseling." Like, he's doing what they're kind of making him do so that he can get back on the court.
I am with you as somebody who's been in counseling quite a few times in many different forms. I'm just imagining what a great documentary that would be. When Nurkic did that thing, how did that make you feel, Draymond? By the way, I can tell you,
we always go to it's not always actually a couch, but and Draymond's got such a great personality. I would love to see he hits the couch and it's this new person who's never spoken to before, and he's like, "All right, bro," or a woman, "All right, what how are you today? What are we getting into?"
I can break news for you, by the way, if you'd like. Draymond Green will return January 25th for the home game versus the Sacramento Kings. That's just how it's going to go. That's what's going to happen.
I thought you were serious for a minute. I was like, man, I'm slipping over here.
Nope. The only news I can give you as we wrap up, based on our conversation, certainly not unexpected, but with the deadline looming in 3 days, Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez are going to exercise their option and buy the rest of the Timberwolves. So
I bet they want this team now. They look pretty good.
Telling you, man. All right. Well, look, appreciate everything you've done for us and with us throughout the year. enjoy your new year. And next week, we fully expect to see the dog pillow.
Of course. And then
Nice.
maybe the garage. I think we should mix it up.
Oh, you going to be kicked out again?
I'm just saying, it was a good look.
It's a very
All
nice.
right, guys. Happy New Year.
All right. Thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you. That is Sam Amick. We will take a break. When we come back, still a lot to get to. Don't forget, by the way, Matt Barrows will join us for Niners at 9. We've got 4 down territory coming up. We'll continue to look back on the year that was. Hopefully try to put a smile on your face, which would be the opposite of the frowns in the backyard, the shape of your doggy's poops. If your doggy isn't chowing down on Supreme Source Super Premium dog food, bark, bark.